Tony, what is up? What up, see people? What is going on? You guys may be asking yourself, hey, how's those cameras not on? Yeah, I'm just doing some cooking in the kitchen. You know, it's Taco Tuesday. Well, it's not Tuesday, but still Taco Tuesday. What's up, Terrence?
Hey, what's going on, Anzo? Yep, can you hear me, brother?
Can hear you, man. Got my boy Terrence in the house. And you know, Terrence is like when Terrence texts you and is like, hey, man, you want to stream? You drop what you're doing and you stream with your brother. So that's what happened.
Yep, yep. Yeah, I just had to see what was going on with my brother. Yep, yep. So, yep. How have things been?
Can't complain, man. Can't complain. How about you? It's been a minute. You know, we haven't talked in a while, and I know your ass been fucking going to these movies. So, what are your thoughts, bro?
Oh, yep. Yeah. Which one would you like me to speak on?
Any one that you have seen so far? Because we haven't talked in a minute. So just let it loose, brother.
All right. Yep. Yeah. I guess we should start with the Suicide Squad, right? So,
Let's do it.
yep. You know, I thought the film, yep, it was a masterpiece, and you know, I think that James Gunn, he made the perfect Suicide Squad movie in the sense of, you know, relating a lot back to the older comic books,
Mm-hmm.
having multiple teams, and the audience being able to essentially like sympathize with the villains. Like even though the movie
Yes.
is full of villains, and uh, the thing that I found to be brilliant about the movie is that you have the villains that you associate with the Suicide Squad. Then you have, of course, Starro, which is known as the Justice League villain, and
Mm-hmm.
then you have the Mortis Army, and then you have Amanda Waller, and then you have the U.S. government. So it's interesting that you have a comic book film with so many different types of villains.
I
Um,
agree.
and then being that the U.S. government is the biggest villain of the movie in a sea of villains, and you know that created an interesting perspective. Like, wow, that's kind of fucked up. You know, a lot of deaths and terrible things that are happening and that can happen. The U.S. government is behind that, and then of course, Amanda Waller being high up in the food chain with the government and a lot of powerful and shady individuals. She's also calling the shots. You know, as we saw that she was like, "Yeah, fuck them kids. Yeah, your mission is over, Task Force X." Like, and then you remember how bad she got? She was like, "You motherfuckers, turn back, turn back."
Motherfuckers. Yo, that performance was fire, bro.
Yeah, yeah, that was crazy as hell because it was like, you know, when Bloodsport did it, it was like, okay, you know, motherfucker, turn back, you off mission, and then when the rest started doing it, she just kept getting more and more angry, like these motherfuckers think they could disobey me. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. Um, so I like that. The performances were amazing, and I do appreciate how there was a lot of time that was spent with the characters. You know, it's not just as simple as they were on a mission. you know, you sit with them and you have these tender moments in between.
Right.
So you really get to know them, and you know the characters are making you laugh. But then you have stuff with Bloodsport. You have stuff where King Shark is talking about he ain't got no friends,
Right.
and then the stuff with the Ratcatcher and her father, and then even like Polka Dot Man, like his backstory was fucked up too.
Mm-hmm.
And
100%.
it was crazy how you could just see and feel all that. You're like, wow, like
And you know what's fucked up too? Even Starro was kind of
yeah,
fucked up too. Because at the end, where he and I say this all the time because I didn't catch it the first time I seen it, but when he says, I was happy in space looking at the stars, that just goes to show you that he wasn't really looking to be this bad killer. You know what I mean? You fucking captured him, tortured him for 30 years, and then his option was to get revenge. 100% understood that.
right. Right. I was I was definitely gonna get into him because you know because with Starro that's like a really crazy villain anyway because like you're talking about like a species of starfish and you had different kind of Starro's characters kind of come to Earth and
Mm-hmm.
you know you had Starro traveling for like billions of miles to find Earth and then you know of course you get the classic Justice League villain and like they had to fight him, and then they ended up like putting some shit on him. I think they called it like quicklime or something like that, and it kind of stopped all of his abilities. And then Superman grabbed him and flew him billions of miles into space. Like you don't get your ass away from my planet. Like
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
so you know, but without that, what you have is like someone that is drifting, right? And then you know, in the context of the movie, he gets snatched up. It was just like, yo, I was chilling, and then you Americans like snatched me up and was doing experiments on me. And not only was the U.S. government experimenting on Sorrow, but because of what the Thinker was doing, they were killing a bunch of men, women, and children to advance, as he said, scientific advancement. And you know, Americans are squeamish about that shit, so they try to do it low key in Corto
Right.
Maltese. You know, so there was just like as the movie progressed, it kept revealing more and more substance to where you're just like, yep, there's a lot of thought put into this.
And there was the movie is a lot deeper than a lot of people think it is.
Yeah.
Brightest day, what's up, hot takes, dude? I can help you fix your audio? Okay, so his audio still messed up. Yo, what's up? Send link, man. Want to catch up with you guys? All right,
Oh
nerd
wait,
man.
I'm chipping in out.
Yeah, he's saying you're chipping.
Oh wait, hang on. No.
All right, nerd man is coming.
Yeah, how we doing now? Yeah, no, we can't. Have I been chip? Have you been able to hear me this whole time? Or
I can hear you. I can hear you.
okay, yep, yeah. Let me know if like we start having some problems. The way. So what was the last thing I was saying about Thinker and
Starro.
right? Okay, yeah, Starro. So you know they just doing all these experiments, and you know there was a lot of deep stuff that was there. So
Yeah,
from the trailer, the humans don't get that. They just see like a bunch of killing and you know odd
mhm.
characters.
That's exactly what I said. I said this movie is a lot deeper than people give it credit for, man. You know, the social issues that they go on there, Americans going into an innocent fucking farm and just murking people, you know, guns blazing. Yo, there's a
Right.
lot of deep shit in this movie, bro.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, I appreciate that because you know I've always said for a long time that you know the DC they have the stories and characters, but you have to get someone to translate that because
Yes.
if you don't, then you're going to end up with any number of things in relation to you know how
That
humans
don't make
respond to
sense.
it.
Yeah, that
Right,
don't make sense in a movie, right? And that's what I
right,
always say. I'm like, if you're gonna do these kind of things, I really think you need to get people who are a fan of the comic book, you know,
right.
or at least have a passion to be real to what we see in the comics, man. What's up, nerd man?
Yo, bros. I can help you fix Terrence's mic, but
Yeah.
or his sound. But how you doing, guys, man?
Doing good, man.
Mario. Wait,
Good,
wait.
man.
So, yeah, because Alonzo, you can still hear me, right?
I can still hear you, but you are kind of chippy, though.
Yeah, dude. You have to do it on. So basically, you have to click on his icon, like you know where the three dots are.
Yeah.
It could be something that says
Mic settings.
yeah, either mic settings or audio settings or something like that. And there's something that you have to click on that isn't clicked on yet. I'll try and find it.
Speak, Terrence. Let me see.
Oh yeah. Because yeah, I had made the adjustments before.
Because it happened when I was on stream with Terrence before as well. And all you have to do is just it's just click one thing and it fixes the audio
Is it the
completely.
echo cancellation?
It might be, yeah. Try echo cancellation.
Yeah, I have it clicked on already. Let me see if I can adjust his volume. Go ahead, Terrence. Speak.
Yep. Terrence here.
Okay. Try it now.
Terrence here.
Oh yeah, there you go.
Go on. What is it? Speak.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Oh shit! No, it's still there.
Tell me what the options are.
Just echo cancellation and hold on, I just had it, and automatically adjust mic volume. Only 2.5.
That's it.
Yeah, but Terrence is on his phone too, so that could be an issue.
Yeah, because like
Terrence, go into your things and just check what's in there. Like let me see what. Because I know I did this with you before.
What's up, Mads, Mama Bear? How you doing? What's up, Jack Law?
Yeah, once I made then everything was fine. So it's like, because it'll let me know if there's some sort of interruption on my end, because it'll just stop altogether, or I won't be able to hear you guys.
Yeah, I mean, I can hear you.
Try your one, your settings, Terrence, and see if your echo cancellation is off. So go to settings, like
Let's
the
see,
little.
Echo. Wait. I got the echo cancellation on, and then automatically adjust the mic volume. I just clicked that on.
And what about stereo audio? Try clicking off that and try stereo audio. Try clicking off echo cancellation and try stereo audio.
Okay, so now, so the two that I have selected, you want me to click off echo cancellation?
Yeah, and try stereo audio instead.
Well, you actually sound good at that point.
Wait. Where I had it?
Now. I think he's talking about now.
Wait, you want me to?
No.
Wait, so right now, because I could.
Yeah, I think it's better now, right?
Oh, because I clicked off
all right,
echo cancellation, and then I clicked off echo cancellation, and then I selected the automatically adjust mic volume.
Oh, you sound fine now. I don't know if Nerdman hears it, but you sound fine to me.
Yeah, you sound better.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So it's good that I have Nerdman on here today, because Nerdman doesn't really feel like the movie is as good as we say it is, Terrence. What do you have to say to this guy about that? Let's trash this guy. That's what I brought him on here for, anyways.
Before I even get to tell you what my opinion, all right, go on, trash me.
All right, tell your opinion so Terrence can hear it.
I thought the movie was good in the most forgettable sense of the word. Like, it's just like a good 2 hours to spend, and then you completely forget about the movie. I don't think it's a movie that I need to go back to. I think it's a film like the other types of films that are similar in vein have done better, like Con Air. And I think it really has little or no soul to it.
Wow.
I actually think the characters are less likable in this version of the Suicide Squad than the original. I have to say, like the main characters, like um, Boomerang, Will Smith,
Why does
Harley
everybody?
Quinn. I think they were all much more likable. I'm not saying the story was better or anything like that. I'm just saying they were more likable as characters than anybody in this film. Like this made pretty much everybody unlikable. And then Amanda Waller was just not the boss in this. She was out of control. She didn't seem like the Amanda Waller that they set up in that first one, who was a fucking beast. This one just was like screaming and getting angry and just didn't like she didn't feel like she was in charge, you know. And I didn't like that because I really liked Amanda Waller from the first film. But yeah, I mean, altogether though, I think if you're just looking for blood and gore, some funny humor and that kind of stuff, I think then it's a good, it's a fun time to have. But if there's anything more meaningful you're looking for, I think it just has artificial meaning, artificial stakes. I don't care about any of the characters. I didn't care when any of them died.
So
The
before I
best
let
character was Polka Dot Man to me.
oh god, before I let Terrence respond to that, why does everybody act like the fucking Boomerang dude was such a great character? He was trash.
I thought he was great in the first one. I thought he was really funny and well acted, and I wish he had better action. I wish he could do more with his boomerangs. But apart from that, I thought he was really just a different type of humor, like not just like some quippy guy. It was just like really funny, kind of Australian, like streetwise kind of guy who, you know, is in it for himself. And it was written like his lines were written well, and he delivered it well. I just thought he was a funny dude.
Damn,
In the first
Terrence,
one.
what do you have to say about that?
Yeah, as a DC fan, that's ridiculous. Like to me, Captain Boomerang has never been a good character anyway. Like at best, he's been okay. And then like in
Facts.
the context of the first Suicide Squad movie and then this one, he was just okay. Like I feel like he's one of those characters where he shows up and then at best you might get something cool, but he
Mm,
gets beat up or he dies. That's the
mm,
extent of his character. So like I don't place him in the same category as like say Ratcatcher, who just in like 2 minutes eclipsed the Captain Boomerang character. You know, just by her speaking about her
what?
father. Yes.
Absolutely, one
Yep.
hundred percent.
You've got to be fucking with me right now. All right, go on, carry on anyway.
No, no,
Go
no,
on.
no, no. No, no. I'm speaking the truth when I compare these characters. You know, because like even if I were to take like if you were to take like how maybe one feels about them, like if you just look at the substance, Captain Boomerang shows up and he just throws things. Like Ratcatcher
Look,
actually has a story to
yeah,
her where you can follow and go, you know what, that's messed up, or I see the attachment that she has to her father.
yeah.
You know,
You
like
know
just
what?
even in her body language of her
Yeah,
turning when Bloodsport said you have daddy issues, like even if she didn't go into that, just from that alone, there was weight added to that character, and then her explanation made it more so. And then you see that she is very caring throughout the whole movie, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and there's a relationship that she forms with Bloodsport because he views her as a daughter and she
there
sees him
is
as
no
someone that has
fucking
good.
relationship built up by them. That's completely
Yeah, yeah,
artificial.
yes, it
All of
is.
a
Like
sudden, she's on the bus and she just starts telling him a life story, and then he's like, "You remind me of my daughter." Why?
she didn't
Why does
just
he remind?
no
Like
no no no
it's
no 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 no.
ridiculous.
She didn't
Hold
There's
up,
just
no
hold
she
up.
didn't
reason
just
for
let
them to actually feel
Hold up,
she
that way
did
everybody.
about each
not
Let him
other. It's
finish
not
his
built
point.
up.
she did not let him she didn't just like start telling him. She told him
Right.
that based upon what he said to her. It's not like she
Yes.
just went on the bus like Bloodsport, let me tell you my story for no reason.
Exactly.
That is
Like that's some
basically what
shit that
happened, dude.
no,
No,
that's
he
not
asked her a
basically what happened.
question.
He made a statement about like, yep,
Yes.
you have daddy issues, and then you see her turn away like, no, I have no issues with
Right.
how much I love my father. And then you see her thinking about it, and then she tells him. And then from her doing that,
Yeah,
then he just like you tell from that story that the Bloodsport character had a little bit more respect for her. He's just like, oh
Mm-hmm.
shit, you know, and that got him to open up about his father, which he doesn't normally do. And it was all based upon what she said to him after
You're
what he said to
you're
her. So then
mm,
you see throughout the movie where she's like, "Yep, see, Sebastian senses good in you." Like she kept talking to him, like she already knew what was up with him. Like, you're bad, just like the rest of us, but some of us actually has good qualities that others will overlook because they're villains. I'm,
Yes.
I'm just like Captain Boomerang didn't have none of that shit. He was just a dude
can I
smiling,
can I can
throwing
I just
boomerangs.
address yeah can I just address your first point about like Captain Boomerang versus Ratcatcher? So look, I think Ratcatcher was a perfectly fine character for this movie. But Captain Boomerang is, like from the comics, he's always been like, yeah, you're right. He's not like a top tier like villain or something. He works in the Suicide Squad for the most part, I think, because he's a goofy kind of, villain with a goofy gimmick, which is he throws boomerangs, and he's somehow a villain or enemy to the fastest man on the planet. Doesn't really make sense, doesn't hold together. So on the Suicide Squad, they actually found something good for him to do, and I think that's a better place for him. That being said, in the first film, he played as comic relief, and as comic relief, I think he functioned better than this Ratcatcher functioned as being part of this new story, because I don't feel the film had that much heart. Again, it was pure manipulation. What you're talking about, that scene that you're describing, it didn't flow well. What flowed much better in this movie was the gore and the funny stuff. Every time they tried to stop the film to give these guys some kind of character development, it fell apart. Apart from maybe with Polka Dot Man, a little bit. But again,
Okay, so
even him, it was just like, why are you suddenly just telling us your story in the middle of the woods when we're on a fucking mission? It didn't make sense to stop the story then for them to tell some kind of fucking, in-depth story about this guy. And like, another thing
well,
I
you
want
know
to
I'm not
mention,
alone in this assessment,
yeah,
right? Like the majority of critics, which is unusual, they normally like to bash DC. The
yeah,
majority of critics and individuals that watch this movie
think
share my
Ratcatcher's
position.
cool. But I think that's because they
Yeah.
fell for a basic kind of storytelling manipulation. Whereas, like, I don't think if you start comparing her to other characters who are usually hearts of stories, she's not that well developed. She's not somebody that you necessarily. She's also, I have to say, she's not wasn't the greatest actress in the world either. I have
Okay.
to put it
Here's
that
the
way.
thing, though.
But
If
here's
you,
my thing. Beyond
it's
that,
not so
Terrence,
much that
just
I'm
let me
comparing
finish
her
with
to
this
other
point.
characters, though.
Let me just finish with this point though, like because she wasn't even a major problem for me in the movie. My thing with her is, where do you even go with this character after that? Captain Boomerang could have always come back and been the comic relief, right? If he had have survived, he could always come back and function as comic relief. With Ratcatcher, her whole thing is like, the heart being the heart of this one story. It makes sense for this story. They can't really go any further with her being the heart of the story. They kind of laid it all out there, and it's not really that. It's okay. It's not bad what they did to tell her backstory, but it's not like fantastic either. And then she has these powers to, control rats with like some weird weather machine, like that, some weird like machine or whatever.
It
And
was
you're
it was a
like,
piece of
so
technology made by her father. But you
so
okay? But
where
you
do you
just
go
said
with that character in the future? I mean, like, what
okay,
what
but that's
what
not
was the point of her survival?
that's
I
not
didn't get
that's
that.
not that's not how the Suicide Squad works. Like once a team is introduced, whether it be that a character funny, serious, or they give a backstory, should you see them again, which sometimes in the comics you have characters that return, then whatever
Yeah,
they established that first time around is there, but their mission is going to be different. Thereby, in turn, you won't have to have certain setups. They can just like now that Catcher has been set up with the backstory. If they use her
right.
again, he can then just work within the mission. Just like with Captain Boomerang, his whole character is to be goofy as fuck. So he got his shit wrecked, he's dead. But like, let's just say if he lived, if they were to bring him back again, he would just continue to play within that role that they placed him in. That's what you would need. So the Suicide Squad, the brilliance of the movies and the comic books as well, is that these terrible characters, like as in terrible, like, villain characters, you know that they're bad. So then it just comes down to which ones do you like, which ones do you want to live, and which ones you want to die. So because they give you so many of them, you can choose who you wish to be attached to. But historically speaking, whether it's in the movies or the comics, the characters that are going to stick out the most are the ones that give you a backstory that you're going to care about. There's a reason behind what they're doing.
I get that, but like, I mean, what more shocking can they do with the rats? The rats have already just killed Starro, which was ridiculous. I mean, like,
it's not
how
okay,
powerful Starro is supposed to be. But
it's
like,
not
fair
about
enough.
it's not about being shocking.
She got the rats to kill Starro. What do you do with the rats in the next movie? I mean, it's just
Okay, but
I don't. That's her whole gimmick, dude. Like, she controls
see,
rats, and
that's
they've
not
done the most enormous thing you
that's
can
not
do.
how you approach the Suicide Squad, though. It's not about what can they do that's more shocking. It's about how the person is going to be used and whatever mission they're applied to. That's it. So Ratcatcher, being used the next time around, she may die. She may not be important at all. It could be another character that does something that saves the day, or it could be all their efforts at once. It could be anything, but that's how those characters work. They're interchangeable because in the context of the movies and the comics, they're expendable. So they're only meant to do specific things, but because they're villains doesn't mean they don't have feelings. They don't.
Oh, I'm not saying they don't. I'm not
Concerns.
saying they don't.
They
I
have
just
their
think
reasons.
that I don't know that there's that much space for that character to grow. But like, look, I wanted the movie. I wanted the movie to succeed, but like, just looking at the HBO numbers, looking at the box office numbers, clearly I'm not alone in my feelings of this movie. I just think it's fine.
You're in the minority, right? Like, I respect it, but you're in the minority. The majority
clearly not, because it hasn't done that well.
No. I'm talking about the ones that have seen the movie, right? Because if you're gonna go into the ones that haven't, they can't speak on some shit they haven't seen. That's bullshit. You got to see the movie first. Once you see the movie, if you have an opinion, whether it's the same as mine or not, it's like, that's fine. But you can't say, "Oh, it's bad as this," if you haven't seen that shit. Those humans are silly that do that.
If people thought it was tight, they would have gone and seen it in the cinemas after.
Yeah, but there's plenty of movies out there that don't do well that are better than the movies that do better financially. Like Dread is one of the best comic book movies I've ever seen.
Oh yeah, that's fantastic. But that's a completely different scenario. That's a completely different scenario, dude.
Like, no, but you're talking about a movie that didn't do well, that also didn't do well, but it was in normal circumstances without a pandemic. But see, later on, from the humans that watched it, the majority of them said positive things, and it got people to watch it later.
No, you recognize that Dread was an IP that, like, in terms of film, was not a successful IP before. The Suicide Squad, whatever you want to say about the first movie, did well in cinemas, and then they tonally shifted it. Shifted it.
Just to let you guys know, I'm here, but I'm running back and forth because I'm doing cooking, so I'm still listening. But please, let's not talk about the first Suicide Squad doing good in the box office, because it did, but critically, it's a garbage movie.
Exactly.
No, I don't know why that makes a difference. I mean, the movie succeeded in the cinemas, meaning it had an audience.
This is the thing, nerd man. You always try to twist things around, right? So when a movie like Endgame does $1 billion in the box office, you always say, well, just because it made $1 billion doesn't mean it's good. But now you're trying to say, well, Suicide Squad was successful in the movie, so it's good because it made money. No, Transformers made money.
Yeah, exactly. And it's not a market. And you know what the Transformers people don't do? The Transformers people don't change up, like, have a successful movie and then change up the tone and everything of the movie. Like, I might not have liked Infinity War, but if like Infinity War got critically panned but still made $3 billion, I wouldn't expect them to change what they're doing in the next movie. I'd expect them to continue what they did in the last. They changed their style. And people who like the first movie maybe don't feel this one.
Like, tell them why they changed the style.
No. See, yeah, like as James Gunn has explained in his interviews, what a lot of humans don't understand about Suicide Squad is that the comics change as they enter each decade. They're not the same. A whole different set of villains and everything. The whole point of the Suicide Squad story is for bad people to be sent on missions because they're expendable. Anything else has to be added within the context of that story for you to like or dislike certain characters. Because all in all, as James Gunn has brilliantly said, you're not supposed to like them, but depending on the story, you might, because everything, all the incentives suggest that because they're all evil, you shouldn't like any of them. But sometimes you can get something that's fun and compelling with stuff that you should otherwise be cheering against. Just like when you have superheroes, they're designed for you to cheer for them, not against them.
Yeah, but I mean, once again, you're saying, oh, well, the comics change and shift in tone, but this is film, this is cinema. You had a successful movie. It did well in the box office.
It was successful in one way, but like James Gunn said,
there was obviously wait a second. There was obviously an audience for it, and then you get a director who's like diametrically opposed to the kind of style and tone of the first movie, and you know it doesn't do well. People don't go out and support it. It's like.
He didn't say that. He also said.
So wait a second. Let me address the second point you just made, like about like James Gunn and what he was saying about like unlikable characters. The fact of the matter is, in the Suicide Squad, both animated films are better than both of the two live action films, and they have likable characters in it. It's not
to be fair. Okay, but if you're gonna mention but that's a different discussion though. Because if you're gonna mention animated, the majority of the time, the animated stuff of comic book material is better than live action. The majority of the time, so that's different though. You know, when you're dealing with live action, you have like movies. You have 2 hours to tell a story. The formation and the format is going to be different. And for the sake of comic book movies, because there are so many of them coming out, you have to spice it up. You cannot do the same thing over and over. Like when you make a movie, you never know fully what's going to work and what's not. You kind of hope for the best and you do the best you can. And if something doesn't work or mistakes or whatever, then the next time around you use that as notes to make a better film or something that you feel they get more humans to go and see it box office.
Yeah, what Warner Brothers did was just great. They were like, okay, this is the guy who made Guardians of the Galaxy. This is what we were trying to make another person's film into, which was David Ayer, that wasn't his style of filmmaking. That wasn't what he does. They tried to make it into that. I think, fortunately enough of what David Ayer was trying to do shine through. People enjoyed it, whether certain people on YouTube or whatever didn't enjoy it.
It was okay. No. It was like a 60
built an audience, and then they just said to that audience, "Oh, fuck off." We're looking for a new audience.
They didn't build an audience. That's more important. That happened. No. That humans listening, that is terribly incorrect. What happened was the average moviegoers, they saw, oh shit, it's Joker. Who are all these other characters and Will Smith? Let's go see the movie. And what happened was it made a bunch of money because of those things. So you got Will Smith and Joker that were the main driving factors. And then once they got off past 500 million, and you had like, hey man, y'all, this shit ain't good. So you had a response of 60% of humans, this shit, and the other 40% this is amazing. So the majority of humans didn't like the movie. They went to see it based on Joker and Will Smith, nothing else.
I agree.
So once you have
That's not
the
true.
movie, okay, fine.
That's not
no,
true.
very
It
true.
had
It's very
repeat
true.
viewings, and in comparison
It
to
did
its
not
budget,
get to $1 billion.
it
Like,
performed very well.
no.
Suicide Squad was never going to get to a fucking $1 billion. It's a fucking
It's not.
Suicide
The
Squad.
point.
For
The
God's sake.
point is that if humans would have liked it, if the majority of humans would have liked it, it would have made it to $1 billion, because it made over 700 million.
That's nonsense.
No, it's not
sorry,
nonsense.
No, I don't mean to be like rude, Terrence. I'm just saying, like, the Suicide Squad is a new IP. It's not a thing. It was sold, as you said, on Will Smith and Joker being in it. That is true. Those are the two kind of things. But other than that, the Suicide Squad is a new fucking concept. There's no way
that a new concept made
it's not like
700
BVS.
million.
It's not like BVS. BVS, I would agree with you. That should have made $1 billion.
The fact that
what the Suicide
IP
Squad made
over 700 million.
If Suicide Squad was supposed to make, like, if they believed like Suicide Squad had the potential to make $1 billion, they would have given it a much bigger budget.
I didn't.
It's like,
no. See, that's different.
$1 billion movie.
Hold on, let him finish.
Man,
Go ahead, Terrence. Go ahead.
Said no. That's not what I'm saying. They didn't expect it to make $1 billion. What happened is they tried to do what they can to sell the movie, because they're like, they got Guardians, they got all these characters. Well, we have the Suicide Squad. Let's get Will Smith in here. Let's get the Joker.
Yeah.
We're probably gonna make about 500 million. They were not expecting $1 billion, but the thing is, the movie actually exceeded expectations financially.
Right.
But then when you had a huge dip, it was because the majority of humans did not like it.
It didn't have a huge fucking dip in the way that people say. Like, I know that the what's it called, who are running with that. Like, but they have fucking agendas, dude. Like on like the YouTube and the fucking whatever.
No. I'm not talking about YouTube. I'm talking about like how the numbers. No. That's
the
not what I'm talking
numbers
about.
were not bad in the second week.
I didn't say they were bad. I didn't say they were bad. What I'm saying is the movie was climbing, and because of bad word of mouth, it dropped off. If it would have been good, that shit would have
drop off as hard. It didn't drop off as bad as BVS.
I didn't say that.
I'm trying to
say.
So hold on.
That's not what I'm saying.
And hold on, let me answer your question, because I just
I'll
Googled it right here. Nerdman.
Go.
Suicide Squad's opening box office was the second lowest in DC history, right? So that was their box office at the first week. Suicide Squad opens to okay, that's the second one. Sorry. Go on. No, that's the second one. I'm looking for the first one. I'm trying to find out what the first one did in its second week.
So yeah, like the word of mouth is very important for DC movies. That is the reality of the situation.
Yeah, and the word of mouth for the Suicide Squad is clearly not that good.
No, the word of mouth for the movie is good.
Is good.
Now, what the hell? Like
on YouTube, maybe YouTube.
No. What the hell? Like all the headlines have said it too in the reviews. Like again,
Rotten
like I
Tomatoes.
just said, everywhere,
no
like
one
the
respects that shit anymore.
It's outside of that. Like I said earlier, the majority of the critics, which normally take an opportunity to bash DC, they're all for it, and the fans too. There's an equal agreement for the humans again that watched the movie, that the movie you're talking, like everywhere I look, 10 out of 10, masterpiece. This is great. This is so much better than the first one.
Oh, come on, guys. Even if
like
you
I
like
said,
it, you can't think it's a masterpiece.
No. Like you're missing my point. I am talking about what the majority of humans feel that saw the movie. So there are plenty of humans that haven't seen the movie, that is due to either they just, and they're not in a position to watch it. Maybe they don't have HBO Max. Maybe they can't go to the theater. Maybe they don't want to. It could be a combination of things. But I am only going off the ones that have seen it, because that's what I care about. I don't care about Betty and their grandpa who didn't watch the movie, because they don't get to talk about it.
I understand that. That makes sense. But I'm just saying that, like, some word of mouth would have given it a better box office opening. It's the lowest box office opening of any DC movie, and movies have been doing okay during in the recent past with the pandemic.
But I understand that.
Some of them have underperformed.
But DC is all over the place. But here's the thing, though. If you look at recent successes, right? you know, the Suicide Squad, it has its success in terms of the ones that have seen it, not so much financially, but you know, the overall like critique of the movie is really good. But if you look outside of that, you got like Zack Snyder's Justice League, you had Lucifer season 5, part B, which was #1 on Netflix for multiple weeks. That's a win for DC. And then Sweet Tooth came out, a new DC property, and that was #1 for a couple of weeks before it dropped off. And then you had Batman: The Long Halloween, part 1 and 2, both of which are very celebrated. So like DC has a bunch of
Really?
recent victories. Yes, really. So like DC has had a bunch of recent celebrated victories. So when you get something like the Suicide Squad, it's just like, wow, it doesn't always translate, but it's interesting because DC has so many flavors, so you never know which one is going to succeed. It's hard to say. You get either
Yeah.
the more or less likely, but that's the magic of it, because sometimes you can get these great things and then you can get things that are great that humans don't know about because they're not thinking of it that way, which is the situation of the Suicide Squad. Like the average person saw that shit like, wow, a bunch of strange characters killing each other. Okay, you know, I guess I can watch this later, and they didn't go to the theater, but they have no idea what's actually
Right.
in the film because they have to
It was
watch it first.
ill-conceived. It was ill-conceived from a marketing standpoint, is what we're talking about, because he put in a bunch of goofy, like no-name fucking characters that nobody cares about, instead of using like core members of the Suicide Squad that like actually people care about, and making them, somewhat redeemable or likable in some kind of way. You have to invest in the characters in some kind of way. They're all fucking awful, horrible characters that you actually want to see die. Then
Well,
it's like, what's the fucking point?
like I said, like I
Uh,
respect.
and also, let me just add one thing about the artificial stakes in this movie, because it is like fucking hollow and manipulative in many ways. Like they get a bunch of stars, like in who, like, I don't know, like there was that guy who played the guy who's detachable arm person, or whatever the fuck his name is,
Yeah,
detachable
the
limbs,
detachable kid.
right?
Yeah,
And they get the actors, like name actors, to play those guys, and then they kill them all off after they've had maybe one or two lines, like each.
mm-hmm.
And you're like, all right, I get it that you're trying to say that anyone can die, right? Anyone can die in this movie, but the fact of the matter is that you didn't care about those characters, so it's not real fucking stakes by
Okay,
killing
but
all
see,
of them,
that's
all
the
of them in
thing
the
that I was
beginning.
saying earlier.
And
It's
the,
different.
the,
Like
the funny thing is about that, in the first Suicide Squad, everyone was like complaining about like how they killed this guy who could climb things, like really, like they killed him
yeah,
like off
the
really
Slipknot
quickly without
character, right?
knowing. They did that like times 20 in this fucking movie, and everyone thinks it's genius. Why is that?
Because, as James Gunn has said in his interviews many times, he knows these characters and these storylines. There is always going to be a setup team before the real team. And the fact that he did that, I was actually happy about, because that took him back to the old school comics. And it was surprising that he made a bunch of bold decisions. You didn't know which characters are going to fucking die. You had so many of them get wrecked in the beginning, and then you get your main team. Look how many of them died there. And like the movie wasn't even done, and I was like, fuck, like by the end of this shit, they might all die except for maybe one. You know, like that's how I
Yeah,
was
but they
feeling
weren't
because of all the
likable.
boys. Yeah, that's your opinion, but you have to understand, as I said
True,
earlier multiple times, the
true.
majority the majority of viewers had attachments to one or multiple characters.
Who did you have an attachment to, apart from
Um,
Ratcatcher? Because
well, I didn't have
I
an
can at
attach
least
like
understand maybe being attached to the Ratcatcher, even though I thought she was poorly acted, but like whatever, like
okay here
she
like
had some
for
kind of
me it's not so
emotional
much
story. Who else were you attached to?
like for me, it wasn't so much that there was an attachment as much as it was like with like for the record, I liked all the characters on the second team. And then the rest of them was just like, you know, oh, I remember him from the comics. I remember that character. But the second team,
Yeah.
I feel like every one of them that was there, I liked them. I didn't want any of them to die. But like,
Really?
you know, I had like, yeah, really, I didn't want to see none of them die. I was like, I don't want none of these fucking characters to die. But I already knew in my soul that they were gonna get picked off. I was like, I swear to God, if they kill Ratcatcher or Bloodsport or King Shark, like that'd be the moment where I stand up out of my seat
But
and go like,
here's the thing
you
about Bloodsport, right? Like, which made me, I was immediately like, yeah, don't care if he dies now. He goes in, kills a bunch of rebels, was showing off about how he could torture and kill fucking rebel characters with a completely irredeemable psychopath, right? Which was the John Cena character. So they go and kill all these fucking guys, and then they make a fucking joke about it afterwards when they find out that these people were completely innocent rebels fighting against an oppressive system. It's like, well, all right, well then now I don't care about these guys.
okay,
Don't
see,
give a
now
shit.
now this would again count as one of James Gunn's many examples about what he felt the audience would miss potentially, right? Because that scene was nothing more than to showcase how easily these characters are willing to kill individuals. It just so happened that they killed a bunch of individuals that they shouldn't. But if you take
Right.
these characters outside of that situation, they do that all the time. They constantly kill characters all the time, which is
Yeah.
why, you know, DC superheroes stop them all the time. So any and everything that they were doing in the movie is not outside of what they do anyway when they're not, you know, being on a mission with the bomb in the back of the head and stuff like that. So I like that. I like that the movie shows they're villains, but again, there's more to them than that. You get to see them doing horrible things as they should be. So then it comes like, okay, you have the Suicide Squad, you have the Thinker, you have Starro, you have Amanda Waller, and the U.S. government. As an audience member, you have to decide which one is the evilest one of them all. Like, because there's varying
Yeah.
degrees to the level of evil. And then, like, even like, when you put yourself in the situation, you know, there's a whole lot of the I wouldn't do that or I would do this. And then there's the I'm not sure. And that's because they give you different degrees of violence, which is the brilliance of the movie. Like the audience
Mm.
members, some of the reviews were like, man, this shit is great, but I was a little uncomfortable with some of the violence, which is exactly how you're supposed to feel because
Sorry
those are
about that,
terrible
guys.
characters.
Yeah.
You know,
I want
that's
to
how
hear
you're
what.
supposed to feel.
Yeah, no, I get it. I get it. I mean, I do want to hear what other things are. I was going to say one last thing. I agree with what you're saying, Terrence, like in a lot of ways. I'm just like, that's just my kind of attitude towards like watching these films. When the character does something like that, they have to be very, very interesting in another way for me to be able to be like, oh, it's cool that they just fucking did that. You know, like I'll give you an example. I'm sure you've seen Goodfellas, right? Those
Yes,
guys
yes.
are fucking pieces of shit, right? Like they're all fucking pieces of shit. Like you know, and especially the Joe Pesci character. But he's one of my favorite characters ever. And when he died, I was pissed off. But that's because Joe Pesci is so fucking cool that he makes it like where even though he's doing evil fucking shit, the way he's doing it is so fucking gnarly that you still root for him. And like he even says it in the film, you know, like I was the kind of guy who rooted for the bad guy in the movie, like because it's kind of reflecting in a meta kind of way on how we are like, you know, like rooting for these trio of fucking bad guys in Goodfellas. This movie didn't have characters like that where I was like, they're so compelling in another way as villains, and they're so good at being fucking villains that I can accept that they're doing all this horrible shit. It's just they were very, very one-dimensional, plain, like not super charismatic characters doing evil shit. So I didn't care about them.
Okay,
It
and,
was just
that's
like
fine, right? That's respectable. But you mentioned Goodfellas, which, in my opinion, is one of the best movies ever made. To me,
yeah,
there are differences when it comes to what's compelling. It's not going to be all on the same level. It's just like anything else in life that you look at. There's different levels of strength, speed, intelligence, and so on and so on. So when you're
Yeah.
doing comparisons, it's important to look at, okay, when you have this example, what's the best version of what this can be? And how does it handle its job? Does it do what it's supposed to do? And the Suicide Squad, like I keep telling humans, the whole premise of the movies and the comics is very simple. It's the characters as to why those stories have been around since like the 1950s and shit because of the villains that they use. But
Yeah.
you're only going to know about that if you
I
read them
didn't.
or you watch the movie. So that whole like the way the movie looks, it actually reminds me of the comics because when I was introduced to them, it was like a bunch of characters get killed off and they're evil. It wasn't until I read them where I was like, wow, like you have that simple premise, but there's so much more to this. And then there's also what you apply on top of the characters. Like, oh, that'd be cool. Like that's definitely what I would do and stuff. Once you do that, then the stories themselves become stronger in nature.
Hmm. Yo, so what's your take on this, on the and someone's asking you, Terrence, so this I think it's John Cena. Terrence, what are your thoughts on Exo Mardunia, Miguel from Cobra Kai being cast as Blue Beetle?
Oh, yeah, I think that's actually perfect casting because I'm a fan of Cobra Kai, big fan of that show. I love the movies that it's pulled from, and he plays a character named Miguel, and he's really good. He's a talented young actor, handsome guy, and I feel like he could pull off the Blue Beetle character. I think that that's going to be one of those. If it's good, it might be one of those sleeper hits. Like you might have to, you know, uh, kind of spread it through word of mouth. Like, yo, you gotta watch this Blue Beetle movie. Or it could be a surprise thing where a lot of humans might tune in because they watch Cobra Kai. Some of those fans might come over from that. So I'm going to be very interested to see how that unfolds. But I do very much like that casting because I like the actor.
Cool, cool. I mean, yeah, look, I've been seeing a lot of bad things about Suicide Squad, but I mean, it's not like I didn't enjoy the movie. I did enjoy the movie. I saw what James Gunn was going for. It was like a gore fest, with like a lot of humor, a fairly good story. I thought there was some weak acting in parts, and I thought there was a little bit of artificialness to the movie in terms of like trying to add heart and stakes in it. But it was a fun movie, and I hope that it did well because I hope every DC movie does well. Um, I'm kind of bummed that it hasn't, like the audience that it was going for just hasn't like turned up and hasn't been watching it on HBO Max. Uh, I, mean, I mean, I think the visual aspect of the film was fucking brilliant. I thought the CG was really, really nice. I thought there were like little moments, like I thought like even though Harley Quinn didn't really have a story as such in this film, like she was just trying to find out what was going on with her javelin, I thought they did her really well in this movie. I liked her a little bit more in Suicide Squad 1. Um, Still, but like I do think that her action scene in this movie was the best action scene that they've ever done with Harley Quinn in any of these movies, and it made the most sense. Like it made sense of how she's able to fight and do these things because she's mainly just using guns. Um, I thought some of the action was really, really good as well. There was a lot of things to like about this movie. I just ultimately do think it's a pretty hollow movie that I don't know that I'm necessarily gonna rush back to revisit. That's my
I've
only opinion on
already
it.
like Anzo. How many times have you seen this movie? Oh,
Oh, he's
okay,
gone.
I think like like he's probably doing something, but I've seen it. Let's see, one, two. I want to say, let's see, I saw it on by myself first on HBO Max, and then a few hours later, I went to see it in IMAX. Like it had dropped on HBO Max a little bit earlier than anticipated, so I just kind of caught it, and then like 3 4 hours later, I went to see it in IMAX because I had already got my tickets for it a few weeks prior. And then after that, then I watched it with my brother, and then I watched it with my mom and my friends. So I've seen it 5 times already, and
I've
it's
seen it
cool.
6 times, Terrence. I've seen it 6 times.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So you've seen it, one more than myself. But see, I plan on watching it again. It's just, you gotta make room for
I
it with
think
all the
I
shit
think
that's coming out and stuff.
Black Widow is way better in my opinion.
Okay.
This movie.
I'll say this, right? Like I enjoy Black Widow a lot. I had some problems with the creative issues, like what they did with
Mm.
Taskmaster and Red Guardian, and I wanted a different type of story. But overall, like, yeah, I enjoyed this despite my dislikes of the movie. But the Suicide Squad, I enjoyed it more because of not just me being a DC fan, but I enjoyed the story more and the characters on top of that. But if someone tells me, hey, I like Black Widow more, I can understand, as long as they're not coming from a position of like, it's just better because it's Marvel. Like, as long as that's
Yeah,
not the
yeah.
argument, then I feel like I
No,
can,
that's not where
accept
I'm
that opinion.
coming from.
No,
Trust
no,
me.
no. I'm not saying you are. I'm just saying like I've heard that a lot of times, and I'm just like, it's not. There's nothing wrong with being biased, but it's just that if that's human's position, then they're going to be unfair. So it means that no matter what you present, it's just not going to matter. Because like for
Yeah,
me, when I'm having a conversation with any human, it doesn't matter, what they're going to say in a sense because I can respect it and I will never speak from a position of trying to change their mind. It's just more of like there's a
yeah.
reasoning for why they have that stance. So I also need to explain mine. That's really as far as it goes.
I mean, look, if I compare it to other movies like it, like I think it's better than Suicide Squad one, right? Like even though I've been saying some good stuff about Suicide Squad one, like I think the characters are more likable. It's definitely still better as a film than Suicide Squad one. Um, I I think it's about on par with Deadpool one for me. Like if you're talking about that kind of like frat boy humor with just lots of gore and just irreverence and that it's just one of those things that's just supposed to be a fun bloody kind of movie. And I think on that level it kind of works probably as well if not better than Deadpool one. And I
Were
like
you a
Deadpool
fan of
2 a lot.
Deadpool?
Not really. I wasn't a big fan of Deadpool 1, but I
Okay.
did like Deadpool
So
2
so
though.
you don't like nothing funny. That's what it is, right? You don't like funny shit.
No, it's not. That's not true though. I do like funny shit. I just think that look, if you compare it to these comedies that are superhero comedies to the comedies that come out that are just comedies, they're way better. Like the
But you
humor
can't
is way better. It's
you
more
can't compare
sophisticated.
these
I
superhero
can't.
comedies to comedies
Well, I
though, bro.
can. They're fucking. They're trying to make me laugh, and they don't. That's
Okay,
how I can
but
put it. Do you know what I
there's
mean? Like,
something that
whereas, like, I compare it to other, and I'll say something like Dread, right, which is a more serious movie. I can compare that to any other serious movie. I can compare that to like a Scorsese movie or a whatever, and I think it compares more favorably than the comedy superhero movies compared to good comedies. That's
yeah, I
that's
think
my
I think it
point.
does. I think it does depend, Nerd Man, because like if I look at say the violence of the movie, right? That might be the most violent comic book movie just because like if you look at all the stuff that's in there, right? You got like a close up of King Shark with somebody's head in his mouth. You got him ripping somebody in half. You see heads getting chopped off and arms coming off late, right, Anzo? you know, like remember the Thinker, like he got his arms ripped
Facts.
off, thrown against the thing, like because the rest of them, like if you look at say like Deadpool or Logan or even like Kick Ass, there's a lot of
Yeah,
violence, but it's just how it's presented is not as
yeah.
much and not often
Kick-Ass
as
is
in your
better though.
face as yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
so
No, I
that's
get
what
it.
I think. Like I think that with those other ones that I mentioned, the average moviegoers was like, "Oh, damn, that's pretty graphic," but it was like wasn't like to the degree of like the Suicide Squad where I seen people like covering their faces, like, "Oh my god!" And then when you remove your hands from your face, guess what? Another head come off, another arm come off. You're like, "Holy shit!" And then
For
the
real.
character's getting shot,
Yeah.
and then you know the character getting shot with a compression bullet and exploding. Like the violence is crazy. Like I'm like I don't think I've seen one more violent than the Suicide
No
Squad.
way.
Just again,
No,
yeah.
this was super violent but and visually fucking really nice as well, I have to say. But like,
Yeah, yeah, amazing vision. I mean,
there's a
that
thing of
CGI
just
on
being
King Shark.
desensitized
Holy shit.
because, dude, I watch horror movies. I watch all of that kind of stuff like all the time. I love all types of movies.
Well,
And
sure,
you
yeah,
don't know,
yeah.
Enzo, I don't dislike funny movies. I like funny movies a lot. I just don't find some of the like Kick-Ass was good, and that was funny, and I
Oh
thought that
yeah,
was a
I
great
love
fucking
Kick Ass.
funny
I have
movie.
1 and 2. Yep.
Um, I'm trying to think of any other funny
Oh, and then
like
what's
comic
another
book
one that was
movies I
really
like.
violent? Like Punisher Warzone was pretty fucking violent. Like that's probably like
Yeah.
maybe in I want to say the top 5 most violent comic book movies because like Frank Castle was getting down in that movie. That was definitely
Mhm.
like Punisher from the comics. He was fucking people up. So
Yeah. Do you know what? Why I think I probably have a distaste, Onzo, for funny comic book movies is because I think the idea of superheroes is so stupid anyway that it when they play
did you hear
into the
that?
humor, when they play into the humor of it doesn't. I think it makes you take the premise even less seriously than it already is, which is already quite silly. So I like when they play it for serious and look at the serious implications of what would happen if these kind of people existed in the world. Because again, when they take it seriously, then I can take the silly premise a little bit more
They
seriously.
took it serious
So
enough. Okay,
when they
whenever
take Daredevil, a guy who's blind or
Hmm.
you know and gets radioactive stuff thrown in his face, but that turns him into a superhero. Seriously, then I can take that premise seriously.
What
When
up,
they
Nate?
play it for silliness like they did in the Daredevil movie, then I'm like, I can't take this fucking shit seriously. Like, he's already a
there were
fucking blind guy who's got superpowers from getting
the Suicide
radioactive
Squad
shit
had enough
thrown in
seriousness
his
in it.
face.
Like that scene when Amanda Waller told them to leave, and he's like, "Yep, you heard them. They're walking away," and they
She's
did it
like,
for a little
get the
bit,
fuck
and
back here.
right, and then like you hear the people screaming in the background, like those villains were listening to that, and then they was like, "Damn, we gotta turn back." Like it's stuff like that where you know you understand that that situation was serious. You know,
Hmm.
I'm just like, there's nothing like hearing a bunch of people screaming, and these characters who are evil, even they were like, "Hey, man, we can't, nah, we can't let Starro get away with this shit." Like that shit was compelling as fuck. I love how that shit was done.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, but I'm talking about the overall tone. I know there's serious moments in the Suicide Squad movie. Yeah.
But you see, this is the thing that I was telling Terrence before he came on. Like, this movie is a lot deeper than people say it is, right? Because again, you think Starro was just a throwaway character, but before he dies, when he says, "I was happier just looking at the stars," that was to me was like, holy shit.
Yeah.
Because
That's
now
nice.
it turns Starro into kind of a sympathetic creature, right? Because he was doing
Hmm.
his own thing. Americans came, took him out of space, tried to weaponize him, and tortured him for 30 years. I thought that scene, that line
But
was
wait,
amazing in that
why
movie.
remind me again, why did they take him from space? How did they find
Because
him?
like
What
he's
was,
a okay, like a Starro in itself, right? Like that is literally a celestial being. Like that's how he's presented in the comics. Like this is a conqueror that goes around conquering shit. So it's like
Right.
Starro floating in space. You know, the Americans was like, yo, like what is that shit? And when they found out what it could do, they're like, let's weaponize it because you know Americans they love to do weapons and shit.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that's what happened. They just snatched them up. They didn't go, hey Starro, you want
Yeah,
to
but
help us
where
with our
did they?
experiments?
No, but where would they have snatched him up from? That's what I'm trying to get at. Like,
From space. Like he was
was he?
floating around.
Yeah,
That's why
from
he
space.
said, I was happy floating in space. And those
Yeah.
Americans came and took his ass and was
Yeah, but
Hmm.
experimenting on him.
isn't he still the conqueror? And he's still the conqueror
No,
in this
he was
version,
named
no?
in the movie. He was named the conqueror
Hmm.
by the the
Yeah, the
thinker.
thinker dude. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, right, okay.
yeah,
Right,
yeah. So
right.
he wasn't. Yeah,
Yeah, because in that context, it was different how he was presented. It was like, okay, like once he starts fucking people up, which is what he does, they just, you know, changed it to the where he didn't just show up to Earth and start killing. He might have been on his way to do that, but he was just
right.
essentially floating and chilling and drinking his glass of lemonade, and the humans snatched him up. Like that's how it happened.
But that's what I'm saying. I'm just trying to figure out, was he like orbiting the Earth, or where would they have discovered him? Like in a
Yeah,
different, like how?
they happen to see him because I mean he's big as fuck. Like with as
Hmm.
many
Yeah.
satellites and everything that's orbiting Earth, like you don't see some big ass starfish. That's not like something that's
No, no,
normal.
no, no. I get that. I'm just wondering, like, was he here to conquer the Earth, or what was he here? What was he
No,
doing,
he
He
was
floating
was.
just
around
Yeah,
there?
floating,
Like,
right?
he was
Like we
just
don't
floating. Yeah.
we don't know like if he would have maybe eventually decided to do that, but it's just for the movie the way they presented it was he was minding his own business and the human snatched him up. That's exactly how they explained it.
I got you.
Yeah, so to
Yeah.
me, I remember somebody was crying in my theater because luckily I was in a packed theater in IMAX, and I would say 80% of the audience or more were DC fans because a lot of them had the shirts. You know, certain characters show up, they start cheering. When characters die, like each character dying got the oh, like you know, you got the audience reaction. One of the biggest was when you know the stuff that happened with Rick Flag, and I could have sworn I heard somebody crying with that Starro shit. Like I heard the like you know like how you hear it like for a couple of seconds. I was
Hmm.
like,
Hmm.
damn. Like, I mean, I wasn't crying, but I was like, that's messed up. But the audience was like, I felt like there was that quietness, like, this movie, like, just when you think you know what's up with these characters, you hear he was just minding his own business. And then he's just like, man, y'all fucked up. I was chilling. And then he died. Then you see the look on the Suicide Squad face. They're like, damn, like, what the fuck? You know, we had to stop you because you was wilding out. But after hearing that shit, like, maybe we should have been going after the U.S. government. You know, there was a lot of like nuances and stuff with their expressions that I found to be fascinating. Like even like with
Yeah, man.
Peacemaker, when he was carrying out his shit, Anzo, like Peacemaker had that conflicted, like, like
And John
fuck, I
Cena
had to,
did a good job, man.
yeah, he did. I had to give him his props, Anzo. I was like, because before Fast Nine, right? I was just like, he ain't a good actor. I like him as a person, but it just ain't there. And then Fast Nine, I was like, all right, John Cena. And then this one, I feel like, yeah, he's coming into his own now. Like I'm like, all right,
Hmm.
John Cena. He likes to say you can't see me, but I was like, I see you, John Cena. I really do.
Yeah, I agree.
So
You
so
think
for
John
you,
Cena was good
Anzo,
in this movie? Yo, all right.
as
Yeah.
peacemaker, as peacemaker, absolutely,
They ruined
because
that
that
concept. That he was supposed to be like an evil Captain America, right? And it was
no
just
no 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 like
nonsense. He didn't
no
act
no
like a
no no
fucking
no.
evil Captain America. Like if you compare how Anthony Starr and how he acts as Homelander to this, the way they depicted him in this movie, trash, bro, trash. And
Okay, but
that is
here's the thing though,
comparable.
right? Like, okay, but um, the character that's coming in the Boys season 3 is actually the evil Captain America. But like
Yeah, and it's
the
gonna be done better.
right, but here's the thing though with Peacemaker, this is the dude that goes around killing men, women, and children. This motherfucker has killed individuals in the comics for jaywalking. This is what the character does, and like John Cena completely embodied that. He's just like, yo. I care about peace. If you're violating anything, like even the smallest like violation where you would get a ticket, this motherfucker is insane. He's just shooting and blowing people up. That's why he's in Bel Rev, because he's a fucking insane asshole. And his justifications is this like this consequence leads to another consequence, but obviously it doesn't work like that. Like I can jaywalk and you know what I'm done drinking my Slurpee, I'll just drop it in the road, not really trying to harm anybody. It just happens. But this motherfucker's like, okay, Terrence deserves to die and he deserves a prison sentence. You're just like, what the fuck? So he's extreme. So John Cena, he was able to portray that perfectly. Like even when he was talking, just like, "Yep, I cherish freedom with all my heart. I don't care how many men, women, and children I have to kill to get it." I was like, that's exactly what the character would say. He's insane to the degree where even Ratcatcher was just like, "Yo, Polka Dot Man, I thought you were supposed to be the crazy one." He was like, "I am,"
Mm-hmm.
but even Polka Dot Man realized like this motherfucker's crazier than me because
Mm-hmm.
Polka Dot Man knows he's insane. He embraces it. Peacemaker's just like, what I'm doing is okay and normal. That's what makes him worse.
Yeah. And not only that, right? Even when he was going to kill Ratcatcher, and she's like, "Why don't you just take the hard drive? Why kill me?" And he's like, "'Cause
Right.
I'm thorough."
Right. I was like, this motherfucker, like, I was like, okay. I remember I had my hands on my head. I was like, if he kills Ratcatcher, like, I don't know what I'm going to do. Like, these characters are dying on me. Like, somebody needs to stop him. Where's Bloodsport? And then you just realize he's up there, and you're like, oh, fuck, maybe they're not going to get to her in time. Like, so I just like how I was thinking about a lot of stuff while watching the movie. It had me on the edge of my seat. Like even remember when they were in the bar, Anzo, like chilling, and Peacemaker's like, "Yo, we got to get these drinks. Like we don't know what's gonna happen in the next handful of hours."
Mm-hmm.
Like that scene among the other scenes where they were talking, for me at least, there was an intensity because I always felt like something was gonna happen. Something was gonna blow up. You know what I'm saying? Like in the bar or something. I always thought something was gonna happen to them. Like, okay, they're not all gonna make it out of that bar, Anzo. Somebody's about to get wrecked in the next couple minutes. Like that's how I felt, and that's good though because that's a bold direction for you to feel like no character is safe. Like even with Peacemaker, right? Because remember they were talking about okay, he has 2 seasons for a show. This was before the movie came out. They had like that much confidence that the humans that will watch the movie would like his character, right? That's
Mm-hmm.
cool that they were right about that. But it's like you didn't know. So when he got shot in the neck, I remember everyone in the audience, Anzo, we were like, oh, and then I just looked to my friends. I was like, I guess his show's gonna be a prequel because I thought
That's
out of
what I
all of
said.
them, right? I was like, I thought out of all the characters, okay, he's for sure gonna be safe because he's getting his show. And it wasn't
Mm-hmm.
until we get to like the after credits where we're like, oh, okay, but you didn't know that at the time you were watching the
Right.
movie. You're like, he's dead, he's done.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah,
I thought it was going to be a prequel too. I was like, "Oh shit!" So Peacemaker's is a prequel, and then see him out there, and I was like, "Okay, it's not a prequel. I get it. It was
right,
well
right.
done."
Yeah, man. Like I just, as you know, Anzo, as I've said many times, like I love this kind of stuff. DC, Marvel, like, Dark Horse, Image. There's a little bit of dabbing in those, but if it's like DC and Marvel for sure, most of the time, like, even if it's like a character, like you heard me talk about certain characters, I'm like, I don't really care about this character, but I watch it
Mm-hmm.
anyway, though, right? Because the movie or the show might get me to like the character. A good example would be like Deadpool, right? I was
Mm-hmm.
never like this huge Deadpool fan. Like I was always like kind of okay on this character, and like because he had some good comics too, but it was like okay, this is a good comic, but I wasn't a huge fan of him. But then when the movie came out, like for me, that's an example where it elevated the character for me to where I was like, I'm not going to necessarily go out and buy every single Deadpool comic, but you got a actor and a story where in the context of the movies, I happen to like that character more than I do him in the actual comics, which is very rare for someone in my position.
Mm-hmm.
Usually it's like I really like the character, and then with the movie, it's like I might like it, I might not, or I'll be like, nah, comic is better. So I do take note of stuff like that, that you can make something that makes me appreciate the character in a way that I did not before. which is a very difficult job for movies and shows to do, to have that kind of
Absolutely.
effect on someone. I mean, what about
Absolutely.
yourself, Hanzo? Did you do you feel like you were just a big Deadpool fan before the movies, or how are you on him?
Um, Not really. And to be honest with you, I'm kind of like Nerd Man. I didn't really like the Deadpool movies.
Okay, okay,
I thought they were okay, right? Especially the first one. The first one, the jokes in those movies, the first one did not hit for me at all. But there were
right.
some scenes in the second one that had me dying, like when he got cut in half and then had the little baby legs and shit. Yeah, that shit was
Right.
funny as fuck, right?
Yeah.
But
Right. No, no.
yeah.
I feel because between the two, I do like the first one a little bit more, but I
Hmm.
really like the second one a lot. So it's like, you put on either one of them, like I'm down to see them. I own both of them. I've seen them both many times, and I feel like, they both have things in it as to why, like, I can see why they made so much money, because
Hmm.
even though it's R rated, because the character is so funny, he makes you comfortable with things that you see. Like, even though you're like,
Yeah.
damn, ugh, what the fuck? Like, his character is so, like, you're so busy laughing that it helps you deal with it, which is the difference
Hmm.
between him and like the Punisher or Blade or Ghost Rider or even like the Violence in the Suicide Squad. Because when they be getting down in those properties, they just, it's unforgiving. Like Lee's Deadpool, he'd be breaking the fourth wall. Like, okay, Anzo, this guy just got sawed in half. Let me tell you why this happened. Let's go back 2 days ago. You'll get something like that.
Hmm.
So it kind of creates a very cool, unique kind of distraction for when the violence is presented.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
And then, so who are your top five favorite characters in the Suicide Squad?
Number one, Amanda Waller,
Mm-hmm.
right? Her performance, where first off, her performance with Idris Elba, the first scene where he's like, "You're threatening my daughter," that was fire. And then the
Yep.
end
Yep.
scene where she's fucking yelling at them and like, "Get the fuck back here," that was fire. I think her acting
Mm-hmm.
is like she's a great actress. like no
Oh,
word
oh
of a
yeah,
lie.
yeah. Viola
Viola
Davis
Davis,
is a gem.
yeah,
She's a gem. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Then I would go with Bloodsport,
Mm-hmm.
Rick Flag, because I like Rick Flag's character. Harley
Yeah.
Quinn, Polka Dot Man. No, Harley Quinn, King Shark, Polka Dot Man, Ratcatcher, and then the Thinker. I thought the Thinker was just a throwaway character. I wasn't like feeling him,
Right,
but
right.
he's
Cause
good.
okay. So wait. So those were your top five.
Yeah.
Okay, okay. Cause yeah, cause the Thinker, the cool thing uh about DC is that they have like a trillion universes existing at the same time, right? So a lot of times we get to see a character multiple times. So if you compare the Thinker in the movie to like say the Flash series, right? The Thinker had a whole season for dedicated to that character, right? And he was different. So I do like that the Thinker was different in the movie, even though he's not necessarily impressive or anything. But I'm like, that's a way to kind of make the character feel a little bit different for those that saw him in the Flash, like kind of like what they did with King Shark.
Mm-hmm.
How he was presented in the movie in comparison to the Flash show. Because the one in the Flash show, like I feel like the scenes where there was a lot of soldiers, he would have just killed them all. Like the one from the Flash show, like they just would
Yeah,
have
yeah.
been dead as fuck. And then
Mm-hmm.
like this one, he's more simple minded, you know what I mean, in the way that he talks, but then, certain things can get him to initiate violence. So and then also the one in the show, he looks more of like, a comic book character versus the one in the movie looks like a real shark, just with
Mm-hmm.
arms and legs. Like the
Right.
CGI, his the CGI on King Shark was just jaw dropping, like how he
Mm-hmm.
looks and shit. And then that scene, Anzo, when he was in the water and those like creatures were attacking him, I was like, right there,
Yeah.
it's crazy. So let me think. guess in no particular order per se, like until I sort them out, because like I said, like I really did enjoy practically all of them in the sense of the ones we got to spend more time on, right?
Mm-hmm.
So let's see, we're gonna have Rick Flag in there, Harley Quinn, Bloodsport, Ratcatcher, and I guess I'll go with King Shark, but I feel like a lot of them get tied and stuff. Like Amanda Waller was great, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I can always swap out my top five, so that's why I said
Yeah.
no particular order. So it is very difficult because the main characters, which there are a good amount, a lot of them do their job. Like whether it be that you like them or dislike them for a particular reason, um, like even like Harley Quinn, right?
Mm-hmm.
Each time that she's been presented, it's been a little different in terms of context and scenarios. So like some humans they mentioned, when she was with that fucking general dude and then Corto Maltese, remember? Like,
Mm-hmm.
like the Presidente as they called them. Like I was like, I like this because the other characters are going through all this shit and she's being wined and dined, right? And if you remember like what went down between uh her and the Joker, she was abused and shit, right? So she
Yep.
wasn't used to being treated that well, and then she ended up like literally fucking that dude, and there was a fire on the carpet and all kinds of shit. And she seemed like happy for that time. And then when he started talking about like, well, we're gonna be sending them kids, men and women, to Jotunheim to get fucked up by Starro should they not, adhere to what I want. And then she shot him. And then, she
Mm-hmm.
goes into that speech where she's like yelling at herself and it's like, okay, yeah, she's obviously crazy. But then, she's thinking about the Joker when she's talking about, yep, and they slash your tires and kill your dogs and she was like, yeah, you're real pretty and all this stuff. And he's talking about his dick and everything. But she's like, I can't let this kind of person live because, the Joker is crazy. Like, we can't have too many crazy individuals running around. Like, so that showed that she's insane. It also showed improvement of the character to recognize evil, right?
Mm-hmm.
And to understand that there's a certain way that you should be treated, but you also shouldn't just only look at that and disregard what kind of person you're dealing with. So they did all that in that scene, and it wasn't until you got to when she shot him that you realized the importance of the scene because it went on kind of long, but I think the ending of it is what makes that scene relevant. Because if you didn't have that, it just like okay, like you didn't have to show us this. It could have just been her eating, and then it could have just skipped back to the other characters.
Mm-hmm.
So that was like surprisingly thoughtful, like how much that character has progressed since we saw her in the first Suicide Squad movie. Like I thought that was like cool how James Gunn did that. Like how did you feel?
I feel 100%.
Yeah.
Same way.
Then let's see. So yeah, man, like these numbers, we can't have these movies feeling like this, Anzo. Like that's hurting me like a lot. Like because if you get three back to back, man, we might
Mm.
have to revisit the whole like fatigue thing
Mm-hmm.
because it's gonna be so weird. Because I'm like, you can't have like Black Widow, nope, Suicide Squad, nope, and then Shang-Chi being a new character and it also being a MCU film. That'd be so unusual. Because then I'm like, okay, so these three they fail from that financial perspective. Now there's different variables, of course, but I just mean like from what the movies cost to make, them studios ain't happy with that, right? So they're looking at the whole equation, and I'm just like, okay, if the next one doesn't do well and fails and shit from that financial perspective, I'm like, well, what's gonna make humans go to the theater? Like, is it gonna be the Spider-Man one? Is it gonna be Doctor Strange? Because I swear, Anzo, like, if either one of those don't do well, like, I don't know, like, that's gonna be real telling for sure.
Yeah. I'm still gonna be like, well, see, Shang-Chi is not going to be on a streaming service, right? It's going straight to theaters. Okay. So that's going to be a big judge of it. I still going to say this. The fact that they put them on the streaming service, whether you had to pay for it or you got it free, is still hurting the movies.
Oh yeah,
It's
I agree. Right, I agree on though. Like that's a smart assessment. It makes sense, right? But
mhm.
it's like it's one of those things where I'm like, I get it, but there's so many other factors, right? And it's like it still doesn't look good for it. So with Shang-Chi being only in theaters, that's gonna be real telling, right? Because you factor in like, okay, someone might use Fast 9, right? That was only in theaters, and while
Mhm.
it made some bank, I feel like under normal circumstances that would have been a
It would have
billion
made
dollar
more.
film.
Absolutely.
Like, cause look at what the last ones did. Like the Fast and the Furious is one of the few franchises that can compete with DC and Marvel. You got you got Fast and the Furious, you got James Bond, Jurassic Park, and you got Star Wars. Like those are the ones where, from a financial perspective, yeah, these are the ones where we can hold the DC and Marvel in terms of how much money they're gonna make or how much money they could make, right?
Mhm.
So Shang-Chi, let's say it comes out in a front load like Black Widow, right? Because Black Widow was very front loaded and just that arrow went down. So let's say Sean comes out 200 open, right? You're like, oh, shit, and then it starts to slow down, and then the box office ends, and you're able to buy it, and it's at like 300 million.
Mhm.
That considering that movie was like 200 million to make, like I think we would need to panic a little bit, Lonzo. Like that's
For
then you
real.
got what Eternals after that, and then you got Venom too. Like because then you're talking about like what this whole year of theatrical these comic movies, none of them
Mhm.
were successful. That's never happened, Lonzo. That'd be like I don't know what to do with that.
No, I feel you. I feel you. And you're chipping out a little bit more now, but I'm gonna close it up in 10 minutes too as well. But at the end of the day, I still like listen, the pandemic is not the only reason, right? The pandemic's not the only reason. Some of these
Right.
movies were put on HBO Max as well. So I'm waiting to see what Shang-Chi does. But again, it's like nobody really knows anything about Shang-Chi, right? Unless you're a real hardcore comic book fan, because I didn't. So I don't know how it's gonna do. It might flop too, bro. It might not do so well. If Black Widow
Okay.
is
I
considered a
mean that.
flop, yeah, go ahead.
I just wait. Can you hear me now? Or
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, go ahead.
wait. Am I coming in good? Okay.
No, yeah, you're still
Yeah.
tripping.
So like you said, Black Widow. Oh shit. Oh, no.
Yeah, it's still
All right. Yeah.
tripping.
What about now? This shit is weird.
It is
Man,
weird today.
that shit is weird. But,
Okay, there you
all
go.
right.
You're
Yep.
good.
So I'll try to work around it.
No, you're good
Okay.
now. You're good.
So you know, okay, yes, like MCU, it's supposed to be like guaranteed a certain amount of money. Well, that's kind of not quite looking that way, right? Because like, let's say Shang-Chi, right? Because it's still MCU.
Mm-hmm.
You're dealing with okay, number one is the MCU movie. Number two, it's a brand new character, right? So it's fresh in that sense. It's not an Iron Man, Cap, or something that humans are familiar with, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there's the curiosity factor. There's the whole like how much of the Asian community is gonna support it, how many of the Americans. Like there's so many factors as to why I feel like that's enough to elevate the movie financially. And if none of those factors work, also, that's going to be really bizarre. Like if
Yeah.
none of that stuff that I just mentioned pans out, I'm like nobody will just see it except for the ones that were going to. Like I said, that whole front loaded situation. So I feel like while I would get excited, like oh shit, 250 million, I have to remember to kind of be like kind of chill on it because
Mm-hmm.
what if that ends up being the majority of the box office, 250 million, then boom, it caps off at like 300 and some million. Or if it gets to 400 million, which at this point, like, because Black Widow's about to be available to buy in a couple of weeks, so it's pretty much done what it's going to do at the box office for the most part. So
Yep.
Black Widow will probably cap off at like maybe 400 million, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
So that you 250 million to make, and then 50 million for marketing to like alone, like that shit is not good. I just,
Absolutely.
we really need to
What's
see
up,
what's
Tim?
going on with Shang-Chi, man. Like I just, because there's something wrong to me if let's say like blacks, Hispanics, Samoans, right? They like it, the ones that watch it, and then like say that the majority of the Asian community, whether Japanese, Chinese, Vietnamese, Korean, like if the majority of them don't like it, and then like most of them didn't even go see it when they could have,
Mm-hmm.
like there's so many things where I'm like, what happened? Like this is not supposed to happen to MCU films and stuff. Like it just like I said, I wouldn't know what to do. Like that'd be something where you got to process it, and then like let's say uh, the Shang Chi scenario. Okay, that's the thing. It's like okay, this is a flaw. Then like if you want to provide a little bit of leeway, this is what I'm going to do. Let's say that ends up being the case. If the one after like I think Venom 2 is before Eternals, because that's supposed to be in October unless they change it. It's supposed to get like
Mm-hmm.
Venom 2, and then you get Eternals. Shang-Chi come out, nope. Venom 2, and then it does the same thing. I'm like, Anzo, like, what is Eternals gonna do now? Right?
Mm-hmm.
What is that gonna look like? You know, because then someone can argue, like, well, maybe this is the one. I'm like, after 4 or 5 of them? I don't know. Okay, let's say that one gets it too. Spider-Man, I'm like, Anzo, if they could come out and say that there's like multiple Spider-Man and a million villains, and that shit flops, I'm like, okay, at this point, we cannot deny that there is something going on here, because what other
Mm-hmm.
explanation could it be?
For real. We're just gonna have to see, man. Nerdman, are you there? Okay, he's been quiet for a bit. Wanted to hear what he had to say before we close it up. But yeah, I agree with you, man. It's gonna be tough for these movies, man, and unless movie theaters get back to what they used to be, right, where they're
Right.
making these kind of money, if this pandemic lasts for longer, you're gonna have to expect that a lot of these movies will probably have a lower budget and they won't have as much effects or whatever. They're gonna have to go back
Right.
to making movies for cheaper so that they can make a profit on them.
Right. Like that. I thought about that. That could be the thing too, right? And then it could also be they're gonna make them specifically for a particular streaming service.
Mm-hmm.
In which
Mm-hmm.
case, that okay, like you said, the budget will be smaller. They might put a little bit more into it, depending on the studio, but then the expectations will be different. Then it would be purely about okay, this is going to get us more subscriptions.
Yeah.
Maybe they'll charge a particular fee because, let's say like HBO Max with their DC movies, like you got like I don't know, like say Batman Beyond the movie comes out, right? You have a bunch of
Mm-hmm.
humans like, oh shit, because it's Batman, that was a beloved show, and they're looking at it as like, okay, let's charge $10 for this. Like you could, you could possibly come up on some good amount of money versus you make it 200 million,
Mm-hmm.
you put it in the theater, and you get 30 million opening weekend with this.
Yeah. Yeah, you're
Because
correct.
it's a business, right? So regardless of what you want, you, me, or anyone else, is like if things are not making money, these humans in suits and stuff in their tall buildings, they don't go, well, yeah, you can kiss these spinoffs goodbye. We're gonna have to refund because the rest of these projects they're too expensive. So hopefully the ones that they already finished, They gonna have to figure out what to do with them. The ones that they're just barely starting, they might have to make some adjustments. Hanzo. They might.
I agree. So here's one question and then another question, then we'll close it up from David. First one he asks is, China's still not showing Shang-Chi? I have no idea. I have no idea. I haven't heard anything about that yet, so I don't know if they're still showing it or not.
Yeah, that's okay. The actor, I'm forgetting his name, but the actor that's going to be playing the Mandarin, he is very, very loved in China. Like this dude has millions of fans over there alone. So the perception seems to be that, from what I can tell from the Asian community that is interested in the movie, a lot of them are going for him and not Simu Liu, the one that's playing the main character, which is just kind of odd, right? Like I'm like, all right, like that's because Simu Liu seems like a cool dude, so I would prefer that humans like him. Like I want him to have some fans too. I'm like, you can't have your main character where he has the least amount of fans. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want that to happen to him. So like, but maybe that might be enough to push the movie. But again, it's gonna be kind of weird if I talk to you, Anzo, and I'm like, yeah, the movie made money because of not the main character. Like,
I agree. And then the next question is, are you going to watch Stargirl? Absolutely. Starts tonight.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I usually have them set to record on the DVR and stuff, and I got friends that set a few of the shows, so I'll probably watch it like a little after it premieres is what happens, because usually like with these DC shows, because there's so many of them and I do watch them all, like in terms of the live action ones, I usually try to watch it within that week of when it comes out, like if not on that same night. So it comes out in so many hours my time, so I should be able to watch it later on. But yeah, I'm definitely going to watch Stargirl. Yep.
Absolutely. Me too. Can't wait for that. We got Stargirl, we got What If, and I believe Titans too. Is it Titans season 3 starting on Thursday?
Yeah, I think on the 12th, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
So
the 12th.
let's see. Yeah, so let's see. We got What If, like you said. We got Stargirl. Superman and Lois is coming back as well, like the last 2 episodes for the season, and then
I
Titans.
thought that was the last episode.
So no, we got 2 more left.
Really?
We got yeah. Yeah, we got the one we got the one this week, and next week will be the season finale.
Didn't he stop? Didn't he stop the dude? Like he beat him. And the dude was locked up in the kryptonite cell.
No, I guess I shouldn't say, but no, like that dude is far from stopped. Like, there's
but that was
that
the last episode, right?
Well, okay, I guess I could say this. Like, he gets out of the cage, and then
so wait, there was another episode after that one, because the last one I seen is where him and Superman fought, and then they locked him in the kryptonite cell. There was an episode after that.
Right, you might be
oh shit,
like you might be behind 1 or 2, because the last one before they went on break, he, like, you see him, something happens, and his eyes are glowing, and then he gets out and he flies through the roof of the facility. So
okay, yeah, I didn't see that. I didn't see that. I thought the episode I saw was the season finale. I was like, okay, this is how the season finale ends. I get it. It seemed like the ending for it. I had no idea. Oh shit. Okay.
Right. No, no, you're right. It did seem like the end. Like, I mean, it could be that you've seen. I'm talking about maybe you might not remember that part. Maybe that could be the situation, but or you could very well be behind 1 or 2. It's not many. It's probably 1 or 2 at the most.
That's true.
Yeah, you got to see that, Anzo, because it's far from done. Like, I think that between tonight's episode and then next week, the finale is going to be
Oh
pretty
yeah,
crazy.
there's an episode that I didn't see. Okay, well, I'll watch that
Yeah.
tonight. With that being
Yeah.
said, guys, we are going to close it down. Though I do appreciate everybody that popped in. I'm gonna let Terrence talk about his channel. He's over 3,000 subs now, so congratulations on you on that, bro.
Oh, yep, thank you. Yep. Yeah, that happened recently. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Like it'd be crazy, like you don't be paying attention because, like with me, normally I just like will like shoot something or edit something and just like schedule it, or drop it, and that's it. I just kind of like walk away from it. So
Mm-hmm.
sometimes you look at things and you're like, oh, look what happened. Oh, okay, cool,
Right.
cool, cool. So yeah, no, I appreciate all the support and things, from yourself and many others. T Virus Terrence is my main channel, and I just like to have fun. It doesn't matter, what goes on there, but you have a variety there with shows for reviews for shows and movies and topics. And, when I say everything under the sun, I mean you just find all kinds of stuff there. You just click on the channel on, or you might get a notification. You're like, oh, he's talking about Superman. All of a sudden it'd be like a booty video, or it'd be this or that. You're like, what the fuck? you know, it's all over the place. But that's what happens when the taste is broad and the fun is there. You get all kinds of stuff within what I'm able to get away with, right, Anzo?
Mm-hmm.
Because
Absolutely.
I be pushing the boundaries. Like YouTubers, when they tell you to stay away from certain areas, I'm not gonna lie, I'd be venturing out into those dangerous waters. So
Mm-hmm. Do what you gotta do, bro. You know what I mean? You already proved that if your channel gets taken down, you can build it right back up again. So you ain't worried about
yeah,
that. Absolutely, you know. Are you going to
right.
check
And
out Black Panther in Marvel's Avengers? Not sure.
oh,
Not
is
sure what he
is that
means
a
by that.
is that a game, or is because there's not a
Oh
show
yeah,
coming
it's
out called?
probably the game. No, it's probably the
Oh, okay.
game. It's probably the game. Yeah, no, I don't play that game. I think the game is pretty trash. So I tried the demo, didn't like it. So
Oh, okay, yeah. I
yeah,
I haven't played it, but I had a lot of friends like, they're like, yeah, man, this shit is terrible. I'm like, oh,
yeah, it's
oh,
not
okay.
that good. With
Yeah, because
that
I was
being
about to
said,
say, I was like,
yeah,
how the hell they have a Marvel like an Avenger show, and I didn't know about it
right,
coming out. I'm
me
like, when
too.
did that happen?
Especially Black Panther, they're done knowing about that, right? So
Right.
yeah, it was like okay, but yeah, doing the what if tonight, Tim. I'm gonna be doing a watch party for that. Then we're gonna have the roundtables for that too on Sundays. So make sure to check that out too. Also later on will be the Chaos List, and then tomorrow OOC. So if you guys check that out, make sure you sub to the Nerdman's channel, Hot Takes Tuesdays. You'll find it if you search Hot Takes Tuesdays. Talks a lot of shit, to be honest with you. He talks a lot of shit that I know he really does not believe. He's muted,
Right.
so he's doing something so I can talk a lot of shit about him. But yeah, it's a good channel, man. So if you guys enjoy the content,
Yeah.
go check him out there too.
Yeah.
And make sure to sub to Terrence and everybody else that we stream with, Danny, all those guys, man, Chris Knight, everybody else, man, because we all trying just to have some fun over here. But
Oh,
with
oh
that being
yeah.
said, guys,
One
oh
last thing, Anzo.
yeah,
I just wanted to let these humans know. Yeah, I don't like you won't see me on a whole lot of streams, but Anzo is my brother. Danny is my brother. So 99% of the time, if you see these guys, I will pop up around them. That's how it's gonna be, whether it be on their channels, and then occasionally, you'll see me elsewhere. But I feel like if it's Anzo and Danny, that's where you'll find me in terms of any sort of live streams.
absolutely. And you're absolutely welcome to come on tonight if you want to, man.
Oh, yep.
You know what I mean? If you ain't doing nothing, I'll send you the link if you want to pop in, no problem. But if you're busy, it's not a problem either. But with that being said, guys, thank you for watching once again. Peace.